Walter Brennan was one of the most celebrated character actors in Hollywood history, winning 3 Academy Awards and later becoming America's favorite television grandfather. On screen, he radiated warmth, humor, and trust, but away from the cameras, his life revealed a very different man, one whose politics and paranoia shocked even those who worked beside him. In the 1960s, Brennan didn't just oppose civil rights, he openly celebrated the murders of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert F. Kennedy. He joined extremist organizations, recorded propaganda, built bunkers, and surrounded himself with weapons. To his millions of fans, he was a symbol of family and tradition. But behind that gentle smile was a figure consumed by fear and anger, one whose true story would not come to light until decades after his death. Walter Andrew Brennan was born on July 25, 1894, in Lynn, Massachusetts, to an Irish immigrant family. His father, an engineer and inventor, had achieved more success than many of their countrymen at a time when Irish families still faced heavy discrimination. Their home was modest, set among working-class neighbors, yet close enough to wealthy. Swampscott that young Walter grew up seeing to America's side by side, one of labor and one of privilege. At Ring Technical High School in Cambridge, Brennan first followed his father's footsteps into mechanics and technical drawing. Yet a progressive drama program captured his imagination, and at only 16 he stepped onto the stage, playing an elderly man, a role that foreshadowed the career that awaited him. His classmates nicknamed him the Professor, impressed by his ability to calculate lighting and sound angles as if solving engineering problems. When America entered World War I, Brennan enlisted in the 101st Field Artillery Regiment. During the brutal Meuse-Argonne offensive in 1918, he was exposed to mustard gas, leaving him with permanent damage to his vocal cords. The reedy, high-pitched voice that later made him famous was the result of that injury. He also carried unseen scars, lifelong respiratory issues, and what we now recognize as PTSD. Returning home, he attempted to start fresh, buying farmland in Guatemala and trying to build a pineapple empire. At first, it seemed he had struck gold. The soil was rich, the profits strong. But by 1922, disease, political unrest, and market collapse destroyed his investment. Forced to abandon the venture, he worked aboard a merchant ship to pay for passage back to America. The failure hardened him, shaping a lifelong caution with money. By the mid-1920s, Brennan landed in Los Angeles just as the real estate boom exploded. For a brief time, he grew rich trading undeveloped land, only to lose it all in the 1929 crash. Reduced to sleeping in his car and eating at soup kitchens, he turned to the movies for work. Starting as an extra, he appeared in dozens of uncredited roles, westerns, comedies, even horror films. His rugged look and unusual voice made him stand out, and directors kept him busy. In 1935, a tiny role in The Wedding Night caught the attention of producer Sam Goldwyn, who expanded the part and gave Brennan his first screen credit. That same year, in Howard Hawks' Barbary Coast, Brennan earned the respect of Hollywood insiders. The following year, his career transformed forever. In 1936, Brennan played the character Swan Bostrom in Come and Get It, a performance that won him the very first Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. Suddenly, at the age of 42, he was a star. 2 years later, he won again for Kentucky, and by 1940, his role as Judge Roy Bean in The Westerner secured his 3rd Oscar in just 5 years. His domination of the category was so overwhelming that the Academy actually changed its rules to prevent any single actor from sweeping the field again. Throughout the 1940s, Brennan cemented his place as one of Hollywood's most versatile performers, bringing life to flawed preachers, broken drunks, menacing villains, and comic relief sidekicks. His ability to shape a character with depth and humanity made him invaluable, whether opposite Gary Cooper, Humphrey Bogart, or John Wayne. As the decades passed, he became equally famous on television. In 1957, Brennan starred as Grandpa Amos McCoy in The Real McCoys, running for 6 seasons and more than 200 episodes. His gentle wit and warmth turned him into one of the most beloved faces in American living rooms, and he even won 3 Emmy Awards for the role. Later, he continued with series like The Guns of Wilsonnet, where his catchphrase, "No brag, just fact," became iconic. On screen, he was the quintessential grandfather figure, trustworthy and kind. Off-screen, however, he was becoming something else entirely. By the 1960s, Brennan's private beliefs had grown increasingly extreme. A devout Catholic and staunch conservative, he saw the social revolutions of the era not as progress but as evidence of a communist plot to destroy America. He joined the far-right John Birch Society, rising to become a finance chairman, and recorded propaganda using the same warm Grandpa Amos voice audiences loved. His words warned of communist infiltration in Hollywood, in government, and in schools. He claimed civil rights protests, anti-war marches, and even urban riots were the work of Soviet agents, and he raised money and awareness for politicians who fought desegregation. He banned his grandchildren from listening to the Beatles, convinced their music was communist propaganda designed to corrupt America's youth. Colleagues began to notice the change. On the set of The Guns of Wilsonnet, Brennan reportedly declared that the Watts riots should have been stopped with machine guns. Television writers who worked closely with him described him as openly racist, a bigot whose comments were not rare slips but a steady part of his worldview. In 1968, after the assassinations of Martin Luther King Jr. and Robert Kennedy, Brennan's reaction stunned his coworkers. Instead of sorrow, he celebrated laughing, dancing, and openly rejoicing. These weren't whispered comments in private, but public displays seen by entire crews. To him, the deaths of civil rights and progressive leaders were victories in a larger war against communism. His paranoia ran deep. At his Los Angeles estate, Brennan built a sprawling underground bunker, stocked with food, weapons, and medical supplies. He prepared for an imagined Soviet invasion and suspected even his Hollywood colleagues of treachery. He quizzed co-stars with political questions, adding those who disagreed to his personal enemies list. Even John Wayne, America's screen symbol of patriotism, was not above suspicion. To Brennan, the nation was already infiltrated, and he positioned himself as a defender of a vanishing America. When he died on September 21, 1974, at age 80, the public remembered only the beloved actor, the 3-time Oscar winner, the television grandfather, the man who had appeared in more than 230 roles. Newspapers praised his talent and charm, while Hollywood remained silent about his extremist politics. Only decades later, with the release of Carl Reisman's 2015 biography, did the hidden truths come fully into the light. Letters, interviews, and records revealed Brennan's deep involvement in far-right politics, his hostility to civil rights, and his active role in spreading propaganda. Even his wife, Ruth, who had stood by him through 54 years of marriage, had quietly supported his political activities. Today, Walter Brennan's legacy is complicated. On screen, he left behind some of the finest character work in American cinema and television. His voice, his timing, and his ability to embody ordinary men remain unmatched. But the man behind the roles was someone far darker, driven by fear, by prejudice, and by a belief that America was under siege. His story forces us to confront the uncomfortable question of how much we can separate an artist's work from their personal beliefs. The beloved grandfather America welcomed into its homes was, in reality, a man spreading division and hate. And that truth, long hidden, reshapes how we remember him today.